Welcome into the Set It Off Network. We have some breaking news today as James Franklin of Penn State is relieved of his duties as the head football coach over there in Happy Valley, a very unhappy valley, in 2025. James Franklin has been at Penn State for a while now, Will, and it's kind of been same old with him. It's a little bit of a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but it's always been, hey, you can't win the big games. And James has always coasted through his time at Penn State, beating up on teams that he's supposed to beat and losing to the big ones that he's not supposed to. And I guess in 2025, everything kind of unraveled here for him. And once you start losing the games you're really supposed to win, the fan base really turns on you quickly, and that feels like what has happened at Penn State. I know we kind of talked about this a little off air, but man, it just feels like it's kind of just surreal after a playoff experience last year. Probably, like you said, the best season in his time there, and then now here we are, less than a year later, and we're talking about him not being employed by Penn State anymore.
Yeah, it's really wild to think that it changed this quickly. I mean, like you said, last season, what a great year for them. They, of course, did not win the big games, which we've come to expect from James Franklin and Penn State. But they still were playing in the Big Ten championship game. They were one win, 3 points away from playing in the national championship game. And now all of a sudden, he's out of there. I mean, you also think about just a few weeks ago, Penn State was ranked number 2 in the country for some reason, even though they hadn't beaten anybody who was a non-cupcake team. And then they finally play some real teams and just 3 L's in a row. Things have really gone downhill quickly over there. The Oregon loss, you could see that coming. That was just a continuation of the he can't win the big one narrative. But then to lose to a team that recently fired their coach and then follow that up with losing to Northwestern when you're more than a 20-point favorite to them. I saw some of the clips yesterday. I saw the end of that game, how people were booing and they wanted him out of there. And just like that, they got their wish. But where does Penn State go from here? And also, they got to find all that money, $49 million buyout. That's some big time bucks.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Penn State was probably just kind of not delaying it here. I mean, you got schools out there like Florida, you got schools out here like Auburn that could be possibly moving on from coaches. So if you're Penn State, you're probably not competing with those two schools in resources and probably not competing with those two in money either, being that, they're a part of the SEC and have shown in the past that they are willing to spend that kind of money on football. So
Yeah.
maybe they're just trying to get ahead of the curve here and jump on whoever their guy is, but it's hard for me to imagine anybody doing a better job than James Franklin at Penn State. I mean, this dude was 104 and 45 in his time at Penn State. I mean, for a lot of places, that's extremely good. Heck, for Penn State, that's extremely good. I mean, this team was constantly in the top 25, most of the time in the top 10 to 15 every single year. Um, it's just we kind of talk about it throughout the year when we talk about other teams, you have to recalibrate your expectations. But it feels like the Penn State fan base recalibrated their expectations, which as they should, being that they've invested so much into the football program. I'm never going to fault a fan base for getting mad or athletic department getting mad at a football coach who is not achieving expectations that they think they could set, right? It's being an LSU fan going through the same thing with Ed Ogeron. It's like, okay, what do you want your program to be? Do you want your program to be known for going 8-4 and being okay with that, or do you want your team competing for national championships? And the reality of James Franklin's tenure at Penn State was they were never in contention to compete for a national championship. Like you said, 3 points away from playing for a national championship last year, but that was only because of the schedule that they were gifted in the postseason.
Yeah.
And when they finally got to a point where they had to play teams up to their caliber, they did the same thing that they've done his entire tenure. And it's unfortunate for James Franklin because I really like him as a football coach. Like I loved him when he was at Vanderbilt. I actually like him at Penn State. He is really good with the media. He's really good on TV. Like he just seems like a really good person to root for. And Penn State seems like a fun team to root for. But you're a victim of your own success. Well, when you set that standard like he did at Penn State, people always are going to want more. And we are in such a generation where if it's not now, it's never. They want immediate results, and unfortunately for James Franklin, he was not able to deliver that. All the preseason hype going into this season did not help. I mean, what were they, number 2 in the preseason rankings in most polls, I believe. So I
Yeah, and
mean,
everyone was like, this is their season, just like how Ohio State had their season last year, Michigan the year before that. This was Penn State's season. You had all these guys coming back and buying in, expectations being sky high. Definitely did not help this situation at all.
yeah, and I think the quarterback position is going to be what his legacy at Penn State is going to be known as because throughout his entire time at Penn State, he's never had a quarterback that any of us have viewed being capable of winning a national championship. And that has kind of handicapped him throughout the years offensively. Defensively, they've been outstanding most years, and and then you get a guy like Drew Allar, who is a top quarterback coming out of high school, a kid after last season who has all the intangibles to be one of the better quarterbacks to come out in the next draft class, and it just never materialized. I mean, they went out in the portal and they got receivers. They built a good offensive line. They have 2 of the best running backs in the country. It's almost shocking every single week now when you watch this team now after they've lost 3 straight games how they got to this point because like you said it's definitely a buy-in thing now because a lot of those kids don't came back for the sole reason of playing in the playoff, competing for a national championship, and now that after the UCLA game it felt like okay, those dreams are pretty much done, and now after losing to Northwestern they're for sure done. So what does this look like at the end of the season? I'm more concerned about how this program is going to get rebuilt because I mean if you're a team out there that needs pieces, Penn State is the first place, and I'm looking because they have talent all over that roster, and coaches are going to be calling kids all week and so-called tampering or whatever they want to
Yeah,
do
because
now
now they
because
lost their coach. Isn't that portal wide open?
yeah, it's and you have 10. You could got 10 days pretty much. I think is what it is, or 30 days. I don't remember what the number is, but they're open to leave at any point in time now, and you just wonder what this roster is going to look like in 2026, no matter who the coach is, and how Penn State is going to be able to go out into this market because I mean we talked about it. If Florida and Auburn come open, I mean is Penn State a better job than those 2? I mean, maybe. I mean, it's kind of like pick your poison there. Do you want the pressures of being in the SEC? But if you're Penn State, you just saw them fire a guy who went 104 and 45, Will, and won 10 games a year. So it's like I don't know. Each job comes with its own thing. It almost feels like it's got to be a resource decision, whoever they go after, where he's just like, hey, I want to be at Penn State because it's a bigger place and I can do better than James Franklin. But man, that's a tough act to follow. I'm not gonna lie. Well, I don't envy the athletic director making the decision of who to replace James Franklin with, and already being at a $49 million deficit after the buyout, and that's not even including the assistant coaches that are going to have to be bought out as well after the end of the season when they all leave. So I mean, you went out there and got one of the highest paid defensive coordinators from Ohio State.
3 million, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, people don't even factor stuff like that into these decisions. So I mean, it's going to be an interesting offseason, I think, for sure. But I mean, I think Penn State did the right thing. Like if your plan is to cut ties, you might as well cut them now so you can go ahead and get a head start on these things.
Yeah, it's definitely not like the Florida approach where everybody's been saying, well, Billy Napier is going to get fired any day now, and then he keeps finding a way to pull off that big win to save his job. Like Penn State, they're not wasting any time. Because it felt like really after that game against Northwestern that writing's on the wall. This is not going to be a long-term relationship anymore, and Penn State just went ahead and cut ties. So it's really jarring. And you bring up the coaching search too. We talked about Kurt Signetti on our last show, and you think about he would be the number one call for so many programs, right? And if I'm him, am I leaving Indiana to go to Penn State? Like to me, that doesn't feel like much of a step up. It kind of feels like a lateral move. I don't know if you're gonna get a really, really big name like that. They're probably looking at a Florida and Auburn, one of those SEC jobs that comes open first. Even though Penn State has the opening before those SEC schools, I feel like some of those bigger names would just wait.
Yeah, and the other side of this coin, right, is what happens with James Franklin. Like James Franklin can still coach football. Does I feel like James Franklin's best approach here is probably not jumping right back into uh, a job immediately. I just feel like we if he takes the Dan Mullen approach,
Dan Mullen
right?
route. Route.
I mean, he's really good in the media. Get him on TV for a year. Nobody's stock drops when they go on TV and then people hear you talking about football like you've done your whole entire life and they think you're a genius and everybody looks like a genius on ESPN breaking down football games. And so James Franklin's stock is probably going to drop now, but I mean, what does he do? Does he jump right back into coaching? I'm looking at like a school like Arkansas, right? If you're Arkansas, do you call James Franklin? I call him today. I'd tell him, hey,
Arkansas would love those numbers he put up at Penn State.
that's what I'm saying. If I'm Arkansas, I'm calling James Franklin today and saying, "Hey, bud, just come coach the rest of the season for us. We don't even care." I mean, you have a hot coach like that who's won everywhere he's been at, Will, and yeah, he didn't set the standard of being an elite coach, but there's a lot of programs out there that don't have the potential to be elite like, the expectations were at Penn State. So looking at schools like Arkansas, I mean, there's other teams that are going to open up. The UCLA job is one that I think of maybe that could possibly be in the same conference and going over there to the West Coast. I don't really know. I don't know how this thing's going to shake out, and obviously we don't know what the coaching carousel holds now. I mean, we are halfway through the college football season, and we've already had several coaches get fired. We have several coaches that are on the hottest of hot seats here. And I'm sure this is not going to be the last we talk about coaching just getting hired and fired, but I'm super interested to see how this all plays out. If James Franklin takes a year off or if he jumps right back into another coaching job. Because if I know one thing is James Franklin can win football games. It might not, be at that top level, but how many people are at that top level right now in college football? So I mean, there's a lot of good college football coaches out there that ain't elite. I mean, you can make the case. 98% of them. There's probably like 5 to 6 coaches out there that have won at a significant level where you can call them elite. So it's all about your preference and what you're looking for in a program. So I'm interested to see. You got any more thoughts on this before we wrap it up here?
I mean, yeah, it is interesting to see where he's going to land. He's still like, I think it was 53 that I saw. He's in his 50s. He's still got plenty of years in front of him where he can coach a team and going to be interested to see. I don't think he's done being on a sideline. I just not sure if he's going to take that media route or not. I mean, this probably blindsided him, right? Because 3 weeks ago they're having college game day in town. They're ranked top three in the country, and everything's going great, and all of a sudden you lose three in a row and get fired. It's pretty jarring. Hate to see anyone lose their job, but it did feel inevitable based on what was going on at Penn State.
Yeah, it's part of the game now, man. With all of the money that's being thrown around in college football, man. Like I said, people aren't willing to wait around to see if you could figure things out. They want immediate results, and unfortunately, that's the world we live in. With we got to have immediate success, or you're kind of gone. And unfortunately for James Franklin, his success was not enough. But thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you. Make sure you go check out our Week 7 reaction video posted earlier, and make sure you keep us in mind all week, man. We're going to be posting stuff heading into Week 8. Big weekend of college football ahead of us again. Me and Will are going to be here breaking everything down this week. So make sure you guys check that out. Make sure you're following us on socials. And Will, we're still doing our thing right here with the subscription thing. It doesn't sign you up for anything. It's completely free. So hit that subscribe button. All it does is help us out. Continues our journey. We're trying to get to 1,000 for the end of college football season. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate you guys, and we will see you next time.